kind of confusing, isn't it? Sort of sounded like I was reading tonight's news with the plagues and the fighting and all of that, right? I mean, we heard Jesus saying these things are going to come about, right? About nation against nation and famines and plagues. Well, guess what? That's going on now. Do you know there's 110 armed conflicts going on in the world today? And also, did you know, what did I know? Oh, yeah. Tehran, right? In Iran, a city of 10 million people have only a few days of drinking water. And they may have to evacuate the city because of that. If you got no water, you're not going to get any food either, right? And this stuff is going on right now. And he also talks about persecutions, right? So in persecutions, today, there are 130 million refugees forcibly sent someplace else. 130 million today. I can go on and on with this kind of news. It's real news. Just go look at the news tonight, right? Just go look at it. And Jesus is saying, yeah, all of that's going to happen, and you're going to get dragged before people, before kings and governors, and you're going to have to defend yourself. But don't say anything. Don't prepare ahead of time. I'll take care of that, right? Well, we don't typically get pulled in front of kings and governors and judges, right? But let me tell you where we do get pulled in front of. People on the streets. The people on the streets will see how we act. And how we act tells us and tells them what we believe. In fact, Jesus says, I will give you what you need. And he does. He tells us. But there's no wisdom without experience. So until we go practice living the gospel, we don't have wisdom. We'll just be able to recite what we heard. But when we speak from experience, we speak from authority. And it can have a huge impact. Just quick story, right? Long before the church had much of a structure at all, long before the Roman Empire made Christianity the official language, not official religion. Long before that, right? Long before, or in the middle of persecutions, where the Christians were being persecuted by pagan Romans, the Christians at the time lived the faith. They put it into practice. And this is where it really stands out to me. During this time, they were being persecuted by pagans. And there were plagues. There were a series of plagues that came through that were wiping out huge swaths, I think about a third of the entire population. But you know what? Not the Christians. The Christian mortality rate was about a quarter of the pagan mortality rate. And you say, how did that happen, Tony? How did they perform all those miracles? Real simple. What they did was they went and treated people who were sick with kindness. They gave them food, they gave them water, they cleaned them up as best they can, and that's all it took. But they didn't limit that just to their own people. They didn't limit it to the Christians. They even extended that courtesy, that love, to the pagans who was turning them in earlier so that they would be persecuted. They practiced. They put into practice what they heard. They didn't go out there and tell people, let me tell you about the parable of the Good Samaritan. No, they went out and lived it in their life. And in large part, that's what led to the Roman Empire being converted. And that's what we're called to do, right? So look, we're all gonna be judged when we walk out there, in the parking lot, on the street, in a grocery store. And people are gonna be paying attention to our actions, how we act. And if we act and we try to put what Jesus tells us to do into action, we will have the wisdom to explain when someone says, "Why are you doing that? Why?" We will have the wisdom to say, "Because I experienced it." So this week, just spend a little time every night thinking about the actions you had during the day, and do they reflect living the gospel or something else? Okay? All right. So I have the pleasure to introduce someone that is living the gospel, right? Because I get the pleasure of introducing Sister Pauline, who's going to give us a little talk about her order.